guys, and welcome back to another episode of R.M.Aviation. I'm back again. I have been away for a while, as you may know, but today we're going to be talking about the MC-21. Now, the MC-21 is Russia's most ambitious commercial aviation project in decades. Developed by R.M.Aviation Corporation, a subsidy of United Aircraft Corporation, or the UAC, which is a state-owned under Rostec. It is intended to modernize Russia's civil aviation industry and provide a domestic alternative to Boeing or Airbus in the narrow-body market. Now, as a lot of you may know, this is a highly contested market. You've got Embraer, Comac, Airbus, and Boeing. So, there's a lot of competitors. Now, the reason behind this at the time was before the geopolitical tensions with the annexation of Crimea and also the Ukraine war. Now, it was to try and make Russia self-sustainable, didn't require on the European Union. But when Ukraine happened and the annexation of Crimea, a lot of regulations came about Russia, which also meant that they couldn't build it and it didn't take off how it should have. But I'll still give you an in-depth analysis of the whole situation. So, the development and the goals. So, the origins of the MC-21 project began in the mid-2000s. The goal of replacing the aging Tupolev Tu-154 and the Tupolev Tu-204, competing with Western jets like the Boeing 737 MAX and the Airbus A320. The program was officially launched in 2007. The prototype MC-21-300 first flew on the 28th of May 2017 from R.M.Aviation plant. The strategic goals was to re-establish Russia as a key player in the commercial aviation industry, create a high-performance, fuel-efficient, narrow-body jet using modern composite materials and avionics, reduce the dependency on foreign suppliers by eventually using domestic engines and components. What were the key designs of this aircraft? A few of the many key designs of this aircraft included the widest fuselage in its class, 4.06 meters, offering more shoulder room, wider aisles than the A320 and the 737. The 6 abreast seating, with more spacious overhead bins and larger windows. Modern cabin layout, adaptable for various configurations, economy, business, and mixed. And wings and materials. So, the advanced composite wings manufactured using Russian carbon fiber make up about 40 to 45% of the airframes of the airframe. Now, this is very high for this type of aircraft. A lot of aircraft like this don't have a composite material makeup of about 45%. So, for the aircraft, it was revolutionary for its time. So, aerodynamically optimized its winglets and wing design to enhance fuel efficiency. So, it was actually designed for efficiency, and that's what they struck when they built it. The avionics systems and stuff. So, the fly-by-wire flight control system. So, that is a bit like the Airbus systems. So, it's fly-by-wire. You got the yoke instead of a internal thing. And the avionics from the Russians and some international suppliers, though many were Western components, are being replaced. So, they essentially wanted to use all the Western stuff and then rebuild it and make it their own and then have their own made aircraft. A bit like what China's doing with the Comac C919. But that's for another video. So what were the engine options if you were to purchase this aircraft? The engine options included the Pratt & Whitney PW1400G, so from the geared turbofan GTF family. It offers excellent fuel efficiency, reduced noise emissions, and it is chosen for its early prototypes as it was an international market appeal. And the other option was the Avidigital PD-14, Russia's first domestically produced turbofan engine for a commercial airliner since the Soviet era. The certification for this aircraft was completed in 2020, and it was intended for the import substitution version of the MC-21. Now, what were the technical specifications of the MC-21-300? So some of the features, I'll go through these step by step, include length with a specification of 42.2 meters, a wingspan of 35.9 meters including winglets, a height of 11.5 meters, a max takeoff weight of 79,250 kilos, a range of between 6,000 and 6,400 kilometers. Its cruising speed was Mach 0.78 and 0.8, and its seating capacity was 163 passengers to 211 passengers, and the engine options as I went through before. So, the geopolitical and economical impact. So, the sanctions and localization. So, after Western sanctions, especially post-2014 and expanded in 2022, Russia accelerated the import substitution process. Western components, including avionics, composite materials, and engines, needed to be replaced with domestic alternatives. A fully Russian-made jet with the version of the MC-21, sometimes called MC-21 Russified, has been tested with PD-14 engines and locally made composites. The certification and entry into service. The Russian certification was achieved for the MC-21-300, and the first customer was Rossiya Airlines, a subsidy of Aeroflot. Deliveries were initially planned for 2021-2022, but have been delayed to 2025 and beyond due to component replacement and testing. So the next question is, what variants of this aircraft exist? So, what were the variants and what were their differences? So the MC-21-200, shorter, less common variant, not built. The MC-21-300, which was the main product and the main version that you will see flying around, and the MC-21-400, which was the stretched version originally, and it was planned but never built. And so what was the market position of this aircraft? So if we're comparing this to, let's say, the A320neo and the 737-8, what was the actual benefits of this aircraft? So the cabin width was 4.06 meters, which on average is higher than the A320, which has 3.7 meters, and it was also much higher than the 737 MAX, which has 3.54 meters. The typical seating was also a lot higher. So the MC-21-300 seating was about 163 to 211, which on average was about 40 to 50 seats higher than the A320, as well as also the 737. Its range was about average, so the range that didn't really vary much between the three of the aircraft, and the engine options were the Pratt & Whitney 1400G, which was almost the same as the A320, which had the Pratt & Whitney 1100G and the Leap 1A, and the 737 MAX has the Leap 1B, so there's not a lot of variation there either. So the next question is, what's the future outlook for this aircraft? Well, domestic orders for over 150 of the aircraft ordered by Russian airlines, that's the first one, and the export potential. Limited for now due to sanctions, but Russia aims to promote the MC-21 in markets like Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and Latin America. What are the challenges of this? So a few of the key challenges include global certification, brand trust, after-sales support, and component substitution. So can they actually substitute the components without any issues? Now, I'm going to go through some key takeaways from this. So a few key takeaways include cabin comfort. The MC-21 offers a noticeably wider cabin, which translates into wider seats and aisles, a major selling point for some airlines. Advanced materials. The MC-21 uses composite materials, like its wings, and it works better than the A320neo and the 737 MAX, enhancing fuel efficiency and performance. The certification and market reach. The MC-21 is still not certified internationally, so it's currently limited to the Russian domestic market and its selected friendly nations. Production delays, as well as the MC-21 faces delays due to its sanctions and reliance on domestic substitutes for formerly imported parts. And the engine options. The use of both Western and Russian engines, including the PW1400G and the PD-14, gives some flexibility, though sanctions have essentially locked out Western options for now. But I would like to hear more from you about what your opinion is on that. But for now, like and subscribe, and come back tomorrow for the next episode, which will be about the B-29 Super Fortress. Thank you.